Okay, we have 5 minutes now for Q&A. So I'd like to open things up to the audience and ask if there are any questions you would like to put to our panel. There will be a microphone roaming around, so if you can also say your name and which organisation you're with. Are there any questions?
Hi, Jindara Taylor from Pathway to Zero Waste. First of all, thank you very much for a very insightful presentation. My question is, all the concepts that you present are really exciting and we are moving along there, but I don't feel it fast enough. You know, resource efficiency, eco-design, and symbiosis. How would you go about accelerating and embedding this concept and get it moved up a gear or two?
Good question. I've always found it best to start at the top and to get someone on the board converted. And once that doorway's open, then go straight down to the bottom, because that's where all the ideas are. I say the bottom, I don't mean that in a judgmental way. But the people that have got the solutions are already in your business. You've just got to ask them the right question. So if it was me, try and persuade somebody on the board and then incentivize those people who actually make or do the thing that you do.
Okay, great. Alan?
I would say from a sort of governmental point of view, we need to find a way of actually valuing the resources that are contained in the products we have more. So we might be talking about resource taxes, or the first step is indeed the idea of landfill bans. So you're actually saying particular resources we no longer want to see going to this cheapest available option. You're going to have to do something else with it. And we know from experience that both, the landfill tax has been the main driver towards innovation and driving materials out of landfill. So we know that those kind of approaches can work, and it's just providing the market with that opportunity. They are there ready to innovate. They're saying, okay, no longer will there be this least cost option available.
Great. And Adrian, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, really with that, there's so many opportunities out there. I think really to move it forward is actually work with more people like yourselves. But also Maxine touched upon it in her presentation at the start. She mentioned something about standards. And with that, RAP and the EA and ourselves are doing a lot of work on quality protocols to actually reduce the regulatory burden on businesses so they can actually start recycling these materials and have them as a product. And then lots of the complications of regulatory regime go away. So agreeing with Alan, landfill bans. We're working with DEFRA at the moment to actually reduce some of those materials going to landfill. And they're actually seeing operators who want to build plants to actually reprocess materials. Lots of opportunities there.
Great. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
John Pears, MBDA. I was interested in the analogy about plastic cups or plastic containers for pasta and the cardboard, which is wax-coated cardboard. My difficulty is that if you start looking at alternatives, there's always a plus and a minus. For instance, BBC World earlier on this afternoon said that they had got rid of all disposable cups, were only using normal cups. But of course, then you've got to wash those in hot water. Plastic cups are, as far as I know, easily recyclable, but cardboard ones aren't. Is there an answer to this sort of plus and minus?
That's a good point. Now, the cups that Plasticking used weren't recyclable because they were polystyrene, and there was no service they could get at the local authority level for polystyrene recycling. For other plastics, you're absolutely right. The cardboard cups are recyclable because they've got a very, very thin layer of polyethylene. And we sent a batch to a paper mill and said, what if you got 2 tons of this? And they said it's below the threshold that we'd reject. It's absolutely fine to be reprocessed. They actually, in the end, I think, went for polylactic acid coated cups rather than polyethylene. Polylactic acid is a degradable plant-derived plastic. And so it does break down, doesn't hinder that process at all. That said, the point that you raise is absolutely right. How do you make the decisions? And I did a really interesting piece of carbon analysis for the airline industry, where we looked at the impact of an airline meal on a plane. and we thought it would be about provenance, and we thought it would be about the type of food. Not at all. It's about the weight, because of the fuel required to lift the meal off the ground. So Rice Krispie bars are the future for airline food. But rotable cutlery and crockery had a worse impact than plastic because it weighed so much more. The fuel required to lift that off the ground was so much greater. So it's such a difficult calculation. It depends where you use it, what your recycling infrastructure is, and that varies from one authority to another, let alone from one country to another, and the decisions that you've made on materials. So, cracking question, you've just got to look at it in real detail.
Okay, unfortunately we've run out of time now. So I'd just like to thank everybody for attending, and a special thank you for our speakers. I think we've heard some excellent talks and advice here.